Akademisches Viertels, MLP Academics und RNZ. Auf geht's! Herzlich willkommen zum Akademischen Viertel, der Academics-Podcast der RNZ. Academics-Podcast der RNZ.
Hallo zusammen zu Folge 100 des Akademischen Viertels. Jürgen, Folge 100 mit mir, Niko Beck, und mit ihm, Jürgen Berger.
Ja, hi. Kaum zu glauben, wie schnell die Zeit vergeht.
Und so viele Menschen uns 100 Folgen zuhören wollen. Dafür vielen Dank. Wir haben es angeteasert. Wir haben uns was ganz Besonderes überlegt für dieses Jubiläum. Und ich weiß nicht, wie es dir geht, Jürgen, aber ich habe auch immer noch so ein bisschen, ich will nicht sagen Angst, aber Respekt vor dem heutigen Tag.
Ja, ich sowieso, weil ich bin ja hier immer nur nicht für die Hardfacts zuständig, sondern für das Drumherum und blöde Sprüche und solche Sachen. Aber ich freue mich wirklich sehr, dass Danny Jansson, der Headcoach der Academics, bei uns zu Gast ist.
Und das bedeutet, Danny, hi Danny, we're gonna switch to English right now.
Yes, I guess it makes everyone's life easier if we do this in English. But yeah, thanks for inviting me. And one thing I got to point out directly is, Niko, last season I was waiting all year. We were winning all these games and no invitation. And now that we lose everything, now you want to bring me up here to explain, was ist los, was zum Teufel machst du, this kind of stuff. So yeah, really happy to be here.
Ja, aber da können wir ja gleich mal einstreuen, weil mein Englisch ist ja leider nicht das Beste. My English is not the best, so I try some sentence in Finnish. I mean,
yeah. Okay.
I try. Kiva kun olet täällä, kuinka voit haluaisitko keksiä? Did you understand one word?
Yes. Kiitos kun pääsin tulemaan. Tää on ihan kivaa. Leipoks Niko noi keksit itse vai meniksi hakee ne leipomosta?
Perfect.
That's a question for you.
Yeah, I understand everything. And so,
right. So for me and for our audience, what the fuck are you guys talking about?
I just switched into German for one sentence.
Timeout.
Diese Folge präsentiert das Team von Maler Eck. Seit 1905 spielt Maler Eck in der ersten Liga für die Verschönerung und Sanierung ihrer Immobilie. Innen und außen. Maler Eck. Ihr Haus, ein Partner. Mehr Informationen auf maler-eck.de.
Nico hat wunderschöne Plätzchen hier auf den Tisch gestellt und ich habe Danny gefragt, also zumindest wenn der Google Translator das richtig übersetzt hat. Schön, dass du da bist. Wie geht es dir? Magst du ein paar Plätzchen?
Okay.
Also ich habe mich schon mal blamiert zum Start der Folge, das kannst du nur besser werden.
So my mind is already very confused. Finnish, German, English.
Yes, and
well,
I clearly answered, thanks for the invitation, and asked if Niko baked those himself or did he pick them up from a store?
Yeah, we don't want to answer that. But you're absolutely right, Danny. You've been asking me to invite you to our podcast for a long time. And you always said that one day when you're going to be in our podcast, we're going to talk about the real important things in life, not only basketball, wins and losses. So that's what we want to try with you.
Yeah.
Of course, a little bit basketball, but not too much. A little bit, and we have to ask you in the beginning, how does it feel to be a basketball Champions League play-in coach?
Well, that just happened a little over 24 hours ago. I mean, it's one of those things where it's always like we're in a profession where everything is about next play, and there's so little time to like reflect and stop for a moment and think, like anything that you achieve or something. And the funny thing is we got to Poland, Legia, and we had our pre-game practice the night before, and I just reminded the guys about this fact. It's easy because we are always concerned about what we don't have as people. If you're an ambitious basketball player or professional athlete, or even if you work, people are so easily frustrated. You always think about like what you don't have, and then if even though that drives you forward, at the same time, like you're gonna have a miserable life if you only worry about the things that you don't have. Then all of a sudden you realize easily that you're 46 years old, you're coaching basketball in Heidelberg, and nothing good has ever happened when you always think about that one loss here or that one, practice that didn't go well and stuff. So, it's sometimes good. And then we said in Poland, like, we can worry about missing a couple of wins in BBL, or we can worry about, whatever it is, next contract, or not having this or not having that. But the bottom line is, like, tonight we're playing again, to make history for the club and for ourselves as well. Everything, when it comes to international, everything is history for Heidelberg, needless to say. But at the same time, to go to the, play-ins, playoffs, same thing. This is something that we can do, and this is something we have right now that we should focus on, and not focus on the things that we don't have, which is obviously would be nice as of today to have a couple more BBL wins.
And it's important to mention that in the beginning. We're recording the 100th episode on Friday. So, like you said, just over 24 hours after the Lega game. So, we're recording it before the Hamburg game.
Let's see if anybody wants to listen to this next week.
And before the 2 SAP Arena games against Bonn and Frankfurt.
Yeah. So that's important to know. I hope that your mood will be even better after the game on Sunday.
Or we can do 2 recordings, like I can be here, like, such a great game against Hamburg, and then, next recording, like, what a disappointing result.
That we can try that, that's how we operate as well a lot of times, But do you think that all the stuff you just told us, you told your guys in front of the game, they thought maybe a little bit too much about it in the beginning, or do you have any explanation for what happened in the first half, and of course for what changed in the second half?
Actually, like, to be super honest, there's very little times that I honestly know what our players are thinking. And the thing is, like, I don't think this has anything to do with what happened in the game. Like, we have, obviously everybody sees, like, the inconsistency that we have this year, and how it's ups and downs, and how we sometimes lose focus, and sometimes we look like we're one of the better teams in the BBL, and it's just something that is, like, currently it's one of the problems we have. And everything came out like we might be really good in one game, next game we were terrible, and in Legia at least it was everything happened in the same game. We saw the worst of the academics, and then we saw, like, not in terms of, like, playing beautiful basketball, but the togetherness and the determination and the fight spirit that we exercised in the second half. So basically that was the whole spectrum in one game. But that's a big topic if we want to touch upon, like, where does this inconsistency come from, and also I want to remind everybody, it's not like we don't see it ourselves. Like, we see that every day in OSP, and we see that in Dome and wherever we are in Germany, and if we sleep from 6 to 8 hours, that means usually like 16 to 18 hours a day we're trying to fix it and make it better. But yeah, it's not easy. I said it before, the coach who can figure out how to stop negative runs and always perform like the most consistent with his team, he would win a championship every year. And so far that person doesn't exist, so this is what we're dealing with.
You're still figuring it out.
Yeah, but sometimes music helps. We all know you're a big fan of music quizzes.
Yeah.
Is there one song which describes the season so far?
I would probably these are always like those questions that you have to maybe on the way home then that I come up with but the way our season so far is going, like, the first thing that comes to my mind in 3 seconds is System of a Down. with the change of the tempo that they
Do
have
you want
in
to
there.
perform it for our audience?
No. Let's try to save some of your audience. Here.
Yeah, I don't think that this would be a huge problem, because after wins I always perform Sarà perché ti amo, this
Oh,
season.
okay.
So
Nice.
they are
Okay.
used to
I'm used
to a
to
lot
it.
of
I'm
to a
used
lot
to
of
it.
bad stuff. Yeah. We learned that you are a former outstanding marketing student. How would you sell the season so far to fans or sponsors?
That is really interesting that you guys really heavily went on Google or
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, okay. Good. The funny story is that I did go to schools. I graduated with a bachelor's degree in business administration and marketing. And then I continued from there to make a master's in international business, and developing organizations was my major in Maastricht, Netherlands. Somehow I think, I was playing basketball all those years, so in a way my life and head was mainly filled with basketball problems. But I was also always really competitive, not just on in basketball, but also in school. Like to me, school was mainly to compete and in a way be successful as well. Like even if it's a topic that I didn't really have that much interest in, but I wanted to I wouldn't say compete with the teacher, but kind of like if sometimes I remember one time one teacher gave me a grade that I was not happy with, and I go home and I'm like, okay, let's see, and then I would really study maybe Asian history that I wasn't, as a 20-year-old kid, I wasn't really all that interested in, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna show this teacher now.
Okay.
So I took marketing classes. I think maybe back then I had a vision that whenever I quit basketball as a player, that this is also an interesting fact that I never planned to be a full-time coach ever.
Okay.
My plan was to get an actual job, get a real job. So that's also why I studied, and then I also knew I always wanted to coach basketball, but maybe the vision was that I'll get actually a real job where Saturday and Sunday would be off, and most of the time, you work from 9 to 5, and you get like some job security and can live a normal life. And then in the evenings, I would coach like youth or something. This was the vision, and then it's kind of funny that how sometimes little coincidences how they rewrite someone's life. One of my favorite books of all time is Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers, which basically is a story of like how some events change something, and for me that was basically I was doing exactly this. I had a job as kind of a marketing intern for a company which was developing technology for sporting events. This was a long time ago, like how on TV the side billboard would look different on a TV compared to what it's at spot, like trying to develop that technology. And I was coaching U19 kids. Then the club that I worked for actually went bankrupt in the middle of a season in November. And a lot of people disappeared. And here was the problem, it was one club, so everything was the first league and everything was under SV. So it was not like GmbH and stuff. And when that SV goes bankrupt, okay, needless to say, the first league teams, they disappear from the league. But now we're also talking about 350 kids in the same club. And now it's November, it's in the middle of a season, and all of a sudden, like, my big concern was like, what's going to happen with these youth players, because they have no club. So that was a busy 48 hours, because then I found a couple of parents from the club. We registered a new club called same Puhu, the former club was Pussihukat, aka Puhu. So now we formed a new club from the scratch, Puhu Juniors.
Okay.
And we just like did everything. We negotiated with the Finnish Federation. Can we move all 350 players from the old club to the new club? Negotiated with the city that we can keep the the gym times with this new club, all this stuff. Everything happened in 48 hours. With the bankruptcy explosion, a lot of people disappeared. Most people disappeared. Boom, like gone. And then I'm, thinking like somebody needs to, take care of this club, and that's how I became like a GM or sports coordinator, whatever, like CEO of this youth club. And that's how I first became a full-time basketball worker ever. And then you can also always reflect, even then, my full-time job was running the club, and I did as a hobby, coach U90 or whatever I was coaching, sometimes more than one team. And then 2014, out of the blue, Ratio Farm Ulm calls me and asks if I want to do an interview as a full-time basketball coach, and that's the coincidence that happened, that I actually became a full-time coach. So in those sense, coming back to your question, I did study marketing among other things, but I guess then, the coincidences and the faith, whatever you wanna call it, drove me to become a full-time coach.
And obviously, you're feeling the need to take responsibility for those kids.
Yeah, that of course, like to me that was like not even that's something that
It wasn't just an option to leave them alone.
Yeah. How would I market this? Luckily, we have people in marketing that in the club that can sell the tickets and the merchandise better, or even interest in our team. But yeah, like,
and they're doing an excellent job.
Yeah. So
to mention that as well,
doing better than me, definitely.
Well, when it comes to selling stuff, what do you think about a budget around 50 million euro? Speaking of Bayern Munich and the whole trouble now with the league, Marko Pesic made an attack on the BBL.
Yeah.
How can you make these numbers official, and how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I also saw this, and I knew exactly this was going to be a topic when I came here today. But to be honest, like when it comes to the actual numbers and what all does it include, because it's always like, Nine published also like the budgets or the player budgets for each, and now the question is, are bonuses included, are apartments, are whatever, and to me, I don't know how, to be honest, I'm not 100% sure that every club has exactly the same criteria and numbers listed, and in all honesty, I don't even know if those numbers are true when it comes to the actual, like the raw budget, like how much can you pay salaries for the players. All I can say is I'm looking at those, and every summer, like there's always a nutrition chain, food chain everywhere you go. Needless to say, Academics is not sitting at the top of that food chain in Germany. Every summer we find interesting players, we really like them, and we start talking about offer, and we have like no chance when it comes to financially signing this player, and then next week we read that he signed somewhere nearby in a BBL club. So we're not on top of that food chain. The numbers presented, I don't, and at the same time, like that's not really my concern, because it's also like not in my nature to try to always hide behind like, do we have money or don't we have money? I have never in my life asked for more money for salaries from a GM or an owner or anything. Like, you give me something, and that's what we got to deal with. And then it comes down to the game. I'm not going to coach against Bayern München thinking, oh, they have the money. Like, they have 12 guys, we have 12 guys. They have good guys. Don't get me wrong, and there's going to be a lot of matchup problems here and there, and with the rotation and everything. But when it comes down to it, it's 12 guys wearing blue jerseys and 12 guys red jerseys, and my concern is to try to find ways to, beat those red jerseys at the end of the day.
2 baskets, 1 ball. That's what you always tell me, and we're gonna come to famous quotes you always refer to, but also Danny Jansson quotes. But you just said that never in your life have you asked for more money for a higher salary. Not even after last season where you guys overperformed like every expectation.
Not really. I mean, why would I? The biggest request I had was playing 2 leagues. We need to be deeper. We have to have a wider rotation, and that's also like what reflected in our summer. But
so you offered a pay cut.
No. But at the same time, you have X amount of money. It's the same money. You might sign 10 players or 11 or 12 or even 20 with the number X. So it wasn't really ever about more money, but to be a little bit deeper with the rotation. But not even last summer did I ask for more money.
I asked for a special reason because obviously times have changed quickly in Heidelberg. And how tough is it for you personally to handle those losses, especially after this successful last season?
I mean, it's not easy. It's and we knew also, like, it's one of those things where I think even you guys and myself and the club and everybody in Heidelberg, we understand, it's last year was not real, being in the semifinals. We understand, like, but, and then comes always the but, and we're not expecting more, and we all know how that turns out still in the end. We go, if you rewind 1 year ago when we started, like, everybody was super surprised that we beat Vehta, like, how is this possible? And now we lose to Vehta, like, how is this possible? So so that's one thing is a lot on those expectations, and you have to just, like, try to say, and I know the players know that I repeatedly say this over and over and over again, but the 2 elements that we need in our team, with the club, everything, is humility and confidence. And it's tough when you're all of a sudden Champions League, there's a spotlight there, you were in the top 4, and then to stay humble in this, because at the end of the day, like we said before, we're not on top of the food chain, and this is a very competitive league. Dynamic changes, some, and then when you think about last year, like, there were 3-4 teams that really underperformed, and those teams will come swinging for the next season, and then, like, I always ask this before the season: tell me the club who's gonna move down. And nobody can, because we know how Trier was built, and we know how Jena was performing early. Like, nobody can answer this question. So we need to have an understanding that it's a tough league. Anything can happen on any day, and basically in the middle of all these losses, yes, there's a lot of frustration. You can see it's also getting to our players when it comes to, like, those shitty moments, and now you can see, like, how we try to fight windmills over and over again, and again, if we could, coming back to, I think, the second question, if we can just somehow focus on the next play and one possession at a time to build that focus and consistency, then ultimately we will be fine.
But how easy is to deal with it? How long does a loss hunt you after a game?
It depends. There's losses that it's, you can say, like, okay, today I also feel like the opponent beat us. They played well. Then there's losses that, okay, today we had a chance, but what we messed it up. There's sometimes wins when a lot of people around you is like, oh, what a great win, and you're looking at the game tape, you're like, this was one of the worst games we played. So always trying to stay objective and rational, I think, as a coach, is really important, no matter what the cluster around and the feelings are. But obviously the ones where you feel like you lost the game, those are tough ones. Those are the most tough ones to deal with. And are you now planning the next question? Like, well, what game this year was?
No. We will completely change the topic after this.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I would say like we all felt really bad after the Bamberg game last week. Frustrating. I'm not gonna lie. Bamberg hit tough shots, and they made our life difficult with their next in pick and roll defense and everything. Like we just couldn't find that rhythm. We came back towards the end. Jürgen would completely skip the fourth quarter in his reporting because there's nothing positive in here. But the Bamberg thing, when you take two steps back, you watch the game, like they beat us. That day they beat us, and in a league where everybody can beat everybody. We had a couple of home games that frustrating because you felt you had it. Chemnitz was super tired when we played them in the fourth quarter. It was mistake, and if from both teams, and if we would just have two possessions with no mistake, we would have won that game. That's the frustrating game to me.
So as a coach, you have to deal 24/7 with basketball. Now it's Christmas.
Yes.
What would your family give for a Christmas without basketball?
What, like as a Christmas gift?
Yeah, that they can spend the time on Christmas with you.
Yeah.
Without basketball games in your mind, or
or actual basketball games.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, the funny thing is like, I'm surprisingly much at home when you think about it. I take Gemma to kindergarten every morning. Then I head to the gym, and then we practice. We can't practice 8 hours per day. So I'm usually also the one who then picks her up by 3:00 and I come home. So I'm at home. I'm surprisingly much. Now the question is like mentally. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it is, but I think also over the years what we discussed before. This is a really emotional game. It takes a lot of toll, but it's also for coaches like something that you try to develop over the years is the mindfulness to the fact that, when I'm at home 6:00 in the evening with my daughter and we do something like whatever happens between my ears in my head at that moment, that's not going to change the outcome of the next game, because ultimately you change those things when you're in practice and when you prepare for the game, and what are the messages that happen. Like I'm not gonna change anything in my head, like the outcome, the more I think about it in the evening. And this is something that I think every coach knows. It's a little bit tough to actually implement, but at the end of the day, like I think, I've been coaching over 20 years. I think I've gotten better and better at it every year.
So you think the two games in the SAP Arena will be something your family can celebrate as well? Will they attend them? Will they looking forward for them?
I mean, Christmas for us is the 24th, right?
Okay.
And 25th is still, but we got to practice on 25th. But from my family point of view, like I just go for 3 hours and then I come back home and we can maybe eat the leftovers of the ham that we have, the Finnish Christmas ham and stuff. So, I think, like we can easily, celebrate that Christmas the way we want it.
Then tell us a little bit about it. Finnish ham. We heard about that.
Also cheese, maybe?
No, that would be, not really.
Because I read an article of a colleague that said, and he quoted you, there cannot
but that's
be
not
enough
Christmas.
cheese.
Yeah, that's overall cooking. There can never be enough cheese. That's a different topic. We're talking about Christmas now. So Christmas ham. Then we have these, and this is tough because even I can't explain it in English, but we have like these little bit like kartoffelpuree type, like mashed potatoes, but we make it with potatoes. We make it with carrot. And now the good question is, somebody who knows Finnish could tell me what is lanttu in English. But we have this as a carb. One thing that we personally have every Christmas, we have reindeer meat with horseradish, friskkäse, basically and that's something that we have to order from Finland because Edeka doesn't have it.
When do you have to order this? 4 weeks prior to Christmas?
Luckily, I had my cousins coming over.
Okay.
In the previous, so they packed their suitcase full of this reindeer meat.
Nice. Are there any other Finnish traditions to celebrate Christmas?
I mean, it depends on each family and each tradition, but these are the main ingredients. Are the 3 puree type things and ham.
Okay.
Those are, and usually we have fish as well. We're gonna bring some lox to the table here as well.
Because you told us already that you're gonna celebrate with Carlo as well, and then it has to be 100% Finnish because every other day with you guys it's so Italian influenced.
We're talking Italian cuisine all the time, and so this is the one time in a year. Anything that's Italian, probably red wines. I'm gonna have to go with anything but Italian that day as well. I'll just get an Australian red wine somewhere or whatever. But this is Finnish. But Carlo, slowly and surely, Italians are very stubborn, and especially with their kitchen and everything. Like they cannot hear anything else. But Carlo, slowly and surely, he starts opening up, and I think he actually enjoys he appreciates good food and also like understands that there's life outside of Italy.
And he learns Finnish already?
No. I learn much more Italian than he does Finnish. But yeah, I mean this is the plan, and you can imagine our dynamics in the staff when we have a GM or sportliche Leiter who claims that French kitchen is the best. So you can
does he?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. You can imagine how our conversations get sometimes a little bit heated.
So you could do a cooking duel like in TV.
we could. Who would like to see Alex Vogel cooking on TV?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Anyways, we already learned about one famous quote. It never can be too much cheese.
Yeah.
But we also got to learn another thing you said to the same, I think it was the same reporter. It always helps if you're not stupid.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by that?
Well, doesn't that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But how come that this made it to a headline?
I don't know. It's like both of these are definitely taken out of context, and to be honest, I'm not exactly sure where. I think actually this how do you say it in German? Es ist immer hilfreich, nicht so dumm sein, right? Something like this. Okay, so I think it was in the context of our quizzes, because very often it's not basketball related quiz. It's something like we can talk about French Revolution or whatever, and this is also like trying to remind the kids also, or the players. I mean this sense. I mean they're kids, trying to remind them that ultimately, basketball, even though it's 100% of the life that we live, but at the end of the day, it's just basketball. It's a small part of life. The cycle that you play professional basketball is short, and it's good to sometimes step a little bit out of our basketball bubble and and I think from this context, like why would you organize quizzes from history or something like, and probably I said something that makes a lot of sense. Like it helps when you're not stupid, right?
Yeah, in every aspect of life, it does. Yeah. It does. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's like it's very very like it makes a lot of sense.
But there are also some sports quotes you like to refer to. I found one. I think it was Vince Lombardi.
Yeah.
If you chase perfection, you're gonna catch excellence.
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes of all time. Former football coach, Green Bay Packers, and especially, I studied 2 years and played college basketball in the state of Wisconsin in a small city called Sheboygan, which is about 50-60 kilometers south from Green Bay. And Green Bay is a small town, it's like, I don't know, 30,000-40,000 people, like, way smaller than Heidelberg. And then imagine having in that small town with like maybe one set of traffic lights, you have Green Bay Packers, which is one of the most famous and biggest sports brands that you can possibly find, and Lombardi, of course, was their legend. So this is something that I relate. But yeah, I mean, this is something that, you know, one of my favorite quotes, because like you try to chase all these details, and to me, one of the basic pillars of playing good, becoming a better basketball player, building professional career, and make a separation or differential to others is demanding, like demanding from yourself, demanding from the team, demanding details, you know, and ultimately we all understand that, you know, basketball is an imperfect game. I mean, there's a lot of mistakes made I mean, good example, what is Steph Curry shooting threes this year?
I don't know, maybe around 40%.
I didn't check. Yeah,
you
said, you know, we can all argue here. Steph Curry is the greatest shooter of all time or the best shooter in the world, and means 6 out of 10 times he fails. So you know, this is an imperfect game, but the day that we play a perfect game, we're probably going to beat München 500-0, you know, with no mistakes. I don't think that day comes any day soon, if ever. But I think when you constantly demand and you chase perfection, like that's when one day you realize, like, hey, we're actually playing pretty good now, because we put those expectations for us up high, and then you know, increase the level that way.
So then your focus on basketball.
Stop. I have to add one question, because we're talking about the greatest shooter of all time.
No,
and probably,
no Reggie Miller talk now.
Probably the most important learning of today, at least for me, was that I'm not the only huge Reggie Miller fan in this room, because Danny is as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's obvious. Like, if you ask me, Reggie Miller is the best player. Anybody who thinks otherwise is wrong.
Does Alex Vogel know about that?
Yes, he knows, and he just looked at me sarcastically, but that means Alex doesn't know.
He never told me, and he never told you that. For me, he's my idol as well, because I remember the first time I had an interview with Alex. After we finished, I said, I have to ask you, as a basketball expert, one question. I need a good answer for all my people around me. How can I tell them how good Reggie Miller really was?
Yeah, and you know, now Niko, let's be objective. One thing that we need to understand is that the best player of each sport was the one who was your favorite when you were between ages 8 to maybe 14. So to me and to you, Reggie Miller is the best player of all time.
But there was Michael Jordan playing as well. So.
Yeah, but you know, you always want to root for the underdog, and if somebody, and to be honest, like now, if we talk about, for me, Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time, no doubt. But at the same time, I like
that's Reggie Miller.
I like to root for the only guy who ever took those Bulls to Game 7, and Reggie Miller did that, and that's why, you know, that's who we define, because we love the challenger or the underdog, and because like 90s was boring because Bulls would win every championship. No. In the end, when it's 7-game series, like, you know, in the end Bulls will always win it, but at least, you know, Reggie Miller one time.
At least we tried.
Yeah, Reggie Miller one time took it. That brings me also to we know there's only one possibility. If you ask me who's the greatest footballer of all time, there's only one option, and I know you Germans don't like to hear it, but you have to admit Marco van Basten was the best player in the history of football.
All right,
because
let's go back.
I was between 8 to 12 when he was dominating. So
I think we should go back on topic.
Well, what was a nice goal then back then?
Yeah,
couple.
Yeah. Anyways, one last quote, and I would leave it up to you if you want to go there. I don't know how many times you confronted me with Bob Knight.
Yeah.
So what about that?
Should
I cut it out, or
which one? The
one
about the media people,
our profession.
Yeah, the media people. I think it's better if people just go directly to YouTube. And there's like, I think one of the first videos that will come in is like top 10 all-time toughest quotes from Bob Knight, and one of them refers to media people as a profession. So I leave it to the viewers or listeners to go find that out. But I never said it when the microphone is on. So
Yeah. And I hope you never said it 100%
serious,
real and serious.
No. You know, Niko, I always gotta challenge you a little bit to keep you on toes.
Yeah.
Now we have to go into a complete different direction.
Okay.
What about the Bahamas?
What about the Bahamas?
What's your thing? What's your thing with the Bahamas?
I don't know. No, it's not Bahamas. It's always like, just something I never even been. I'm sure it's beautiful, but
You've never been to Bahamas?
No. I think it was previously. I probably like a few years ago. I was quoting the same to Mauritius, but yeah, it's just something that I always like. Would you rather be here or that's something that.
So
I
you
always,
like island and sun and water?
No, I'm just
Pina
imagining.
colada.
I'm just imagining that people would like it. I do this with players. Sometimes it's November or even December, and it looks outside the window. If you look, it looks just like this right now in Heidelberg. And you can sense a little bit of fatigue. You fly back from Poland or whatever, and then next day is again practice, and I feel a little bit, heads down, and actually I think this is something that I very often ask Nikki in our practice. Nikki sometimes arrives, and then I get a feeling like he really doesn't want to be here. So then I go up to Nikki. I'm like, okay, Nikki, be honest. If you had a choice right now to be here with me in the OSP or in the Bahamas with a pina colada in the hand and, two hula girls like, serving you there in a, what do you call it when you lay in one of these swings, like not like schaukel that you lay down and it's
Hängematte.
Yeah, exactly that, between two trees and stuff. Like, Nikki, be honest, you want to be here with me, right? And then you always get a smile.
Is he honest?
Yeah, like you get that sarcastic smile back from a player. Yeah, this is good. we love it here.
Okay.
So that's the idea behind whatever. Could be Miami, could be Bahamas, could be Hawaii, could be somewhere.
But then let's talk a little bit about culture.
Yeah.
Because Finnish people are known for their perseverance and determination.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yes.
And you are as well?
Yes. I'm definitely more social and talkative than the average Finnish person, if you want to stereotype people. I also think a lot of it has to do because I studied abroad. I actually now soon I have to say, like, I probably spent almost half of my life living outside of Finland. Yeah, every year it grows faster. But yeah, I mean, yeah. What about Finnish people? Stereotypically very honest, hardworking. I think, to be honest, like what also makes, our life here very easy in Germany. I think Finnish and Germans are really, really similar by culture and mindset. If you watch the legislation, if you watch the countries, the values and everything, like I think Finland and Germany are very similar. And that's why it very often, like for Germans, it's really easy to, work together with Finns. It's really easy to, if a German would ever move to Finland, they would enjoy. It works the other way around as well. The only thing I would say, we are a little bit more relaxed than Germans. If
which isn't that hard.
Yeah, if you ever ask, I could even go to Samuli, our physio. Like, he didn't plan to go to a lunch. But after practice, I asked him to go to lunch, and he might actually go. It's something. Germans, they have to plan this 3 weeks beforehand, and then they're shocked if somebody wants to go to an unplanned lunch. I think this is the biggest difference, that we are a little bit more less engineer types, and.
But shout out to Luis, because you tried to prove that point when we were on the plane back from Patras.
Yes.
And he was like, well, if you want to go have a beer with me tonight, I can do that.
Yeah,
sure, of course.
I don't think Luis understood the question. I don't think his English was not good enough.
Okay.
But you saw how uncomfortable Eva got when it wasn't planned.
He was like, what does he intend with that question?
Yeah. So Finnish people also are the happiest people in the world when you look at some rankings.
Yeah, this is funny because then when you go to Finland and you live there, and we Finnish people, we do not understand how are we ranked happy, because it's like we have that German mindset a little bit in Finland, like humility, and then glass is very often half empty. That's very similar to German mindset. We have that. I think maybe it is exactly what I told you, like we are a little bit more relaxed and we can, try to be a little bit more flexible with everyday things. And maybe that's the difference. So maybe Germany could be up there too if you could chill a little bit.
Yeah, that would be good. But I have another explanation.
Yeah.
Because Matthias Lautenschläger once told me the one Finnish word he learned.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I forgot it, but I know what it meant.
Yeah. The word is kalsarikänni or kalsarikänni.
Just sitting on the couch or something.
Yeah,
like
that's it. Could you elaborate on that, please?
Yeah, and this is funny because that word exists. I don't know if it's really in dictionary, but we have invented it. Everybody in Finland knows what it means, but we don't really dwell on it, or we don't celebrate that word. It's just something that people do, and somehow Germans just and I think this comes back to what we just spoke. If Germans could relax a little bit, but somehow almost every German, I think that meme is traveling in Germany a lot. Like Finland has a specific word for, one word to describe when you decide to stay at home just in your underwear and get drunk. This is the definition of.
I think the underwear part is the thing
most
that
important.
the thing that made it a topic in Germany.
Yeah. And it's and it happens. Sometimes, even when I grew up, we could have plans somewhere, like let's go out tonight, let's hit the bars or whatever, and we play PlayStation, and then we have a couple of beers, and then all of a sudden it's 10 o'clock, we're still playing PlayStation or watching a movie, something, and then it's it's 11 o'clock, might as well stay here and continue, and then Finland, just like in Germany, the summer gets sometimes hot, and we do not have that culture where every house or apartment has air conditioner, just like here, and then if you have 6, 7, 8 guys sitting on one couch or something, it can get pretty hot, which means, I'll take these jeans off and I continue in my boxers. We play this PlayStation, and therefore, the most famous Finnish word ever invented was invented.
Yeah, great. When we're talking about culture, and we've learned what Finnish people are known for, let's talk about Carlo, Serena, and Eva.
Yeah.
What do you think Italians, Americans, and Germans should be known for?
Oh, this is too big of a question to go here. Number one, yes, Serena she's still that California girl, but she is very, very Germanized nowadays.
Okay.
So yeah, so I would definitely not define with these people like Serena as an American. It's been a long time.
Okay.
So yeah, to define something, like if you would let's pretend we'll make a soup out of this. Serena will definitely bring that sweetness and that sugar, the American style,
smile,
yeah. Eva definitely, as a German representative, would bring the sour part that gives the strength or
structure.
Whatever.
Eva would bring structure.
Yeah, structure and following the recipe. and actually like measuring the ingredients,
Yes.
like, if, I know Carlo has never in his life measured anything. If the recipe says 100 grams of sugar, and I'm
Freestyle.
yeah, and I'm a little bit the same as well. Like, this is about 100 grams.
But is there any typical German thing you picked up in your 11 years in Germany now?
So what the German?
Is there a typical German habit you picked up since you arrived in Germany? I think it's 11 years ago.
Yeah. Not something specific that I would right now, but it's kind of funny, and I can't name one specific word, but there's some words that I honestly like can't even describe in English, and then it comes out as a German.
Okay.
I can't think of one right now, but if we continue talking, maybe we'll find
just
it.
pop it in
Yeah.
whenever you want to.
In that soup, Carlo would definitely bring the spice and the heat of, porco dio, mamma mia, that type, and then I'm probably the one who's mixing it all and serving to plates.
Nice. So would you say Germany has become like a second home to you?
Yeah. I mean, definitely, yes. And interesting fact, my daughter only has a German passport.
Oh, okay.
That's sometimes funny when we travel and the parents show Finnish passport, and the kid that we carry with us only has a German passport. But
how come?
Yeah.
Did you have to choose?
we could easily, like, she was born in Tübingen, she was registered, and there was a really interesting legislation. I think it actually changed later, like immediately after, but when Gemma was born, the rule was somehow if one of the parents have worked and been registered citizen of Germany for at least 8 years, then the kid is entitled to.
Okay.
If she's born in Germany, she's entitled to the citizenship. And I had been working in Germany for exactly 8 years and 18 days when
Okay.
Gemma was born. So we had automatically. And then, to be honest, like when we travel or whatever, like what do we need both passports for? It's we could immediately, like in the summer maybe, whenever we need, we can get a Finnish passport as well.
But
But right now we don't need it for anything.
Isn't it a thing about identity and maybe pride from the parent side that the daughter has to be Finnish as well?
No. I think it only becomes relevant when she's 15 and she needs to decide which national team she's going to play for, Finland or Germany.
Okay.
And would it be basketball or some other sport?
Well, I'm thinking basketball, but could be anything. so then we want to keep the options open.
we gonna come to other sports as well, like we already mentioned. But coming back to
Niko, I know where you're going. Like, we're not going to do this.
coming back to your second home, of course, our audience wants to know what's your favorite city in Germany, and adding to that, why Heidelberg is so much better than Tübingen and Ulm and every other city you already visited.
Yeah, this is really tough to say. In this podcast, I guess we represent Heidelberg.
We do.
No,
Just a reminder.
No, that's the whole thing. Like, to me, it's really difficult to make. I love the first 6 years in Ulm. I loved it. Working in the club. Like I know when Alba Berlin MBBL team came to Ulm to play, they figured like this is a countryside and this is blah blah blah. I was hearing all that stuff from the Alba kids, that Ulm is country and stuff. But living 6 years, Ulm is a nice city. I'm a city person. Helsinki, if you count the metropole area, like with Espoo and Vantaa, it's actually pretty big. It's closer to 1.5 million. So I love being in cities. In Germany, all three cities, like, they're not big, but they're just big enough to feel like you're not,
On the countryside.
like that there's people around you. And Ulm was one of those. Tübingen is a beautiful city. I really enjoyed 4 years, even though it was a little bit difficult when I moved to Tübingen. That's when the lockdown and the COVID was in place. So it took me a year before like you could start seeing people and stuff. But Tübingen is a beautiful city, and then funny thing is I can tell you right now that very often when we start recruiting a new player, one of the strengths we want to use is Heidelberg. It's such beautiful city and stuff, which is true. I can reveal now the first time that Alex Vogel ever called me is like, normally I always start with the phrase like Heidelberg is much more beautiful city than where you are right now, but you coming from Tübingen, I'm not, it's let's put it this way, like, Heidelberg is very similar to Tübingen.
And a little bit bigger.
Yeah, twice bigger, but very similar. And therefore, I think I'm just being really lucky with these three locations. And I really enjoy being in Heidelberg as well. I mean, needless to say, very beautiful. Once you live here, the Schloss is there, Hauptstrasse is there. It's like, and same thing with Ulm. When you lived there, Münster was there every day. It's your home. Like it doesn't, and then
you don't really see it anymore.
Yeah, you don't see it, and then somebody comes to visit you, and they're, oh my God, this is so beautiful. And you're like, yeah, I know, but it's there every from Monday to Sunday. It's there. So in those terms, like it's always a little bit tough to, like dwell on this every day.
Yeah,
but
yesterday it looked exactly the same.
Yeah, and one thing about this profession, coming back to the basketball coaching, like when you lose to Bamberg and you travel back home, it doesn't really matter. Like if you win a good game when you come, even Heidelberg looks much more beautiful when you come back from Poland, whereas it wasn't as beautiful when you come back from Bamberg. This is just how the basketball profession works. It's all about the mindset, that we unfortunately have.
But has Lyman conquered at least a part of your heart as well?
Lyman, I was, for 1 year, I was a proud resident of the same town where Boris Becker is from.
Yeah.
And, it was small. We actually, we took walks in Lyman. We made it home. There's a couple of really nice restaurants. There's one wine store that I really love, just around the corner where I used to live. But to be honest, like when you drive every day to OSP and you always, and then especially in the morning, sometimes the traffic it's not a long distance, but the traffic is killing you. So we really wanted to make life a little bit easier. So now I'm proud. Do you say Bahnstädter, or how do you say it?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah,
Bahnstädter. Yeah. Nice. Like I said, we want to go to not only basketball but also other sports, and you can choose if you want to go American football first or Helsinki hockey teams.
Oh, this is tough. Niko, I knew you had a trap for me here. Good. Yeah, I'll punch you after we are done recording. So I told you the story when I did try American football once.
You did?
Yes. And now you put me on a spot. Yes.
I was just wondering about the position you played.
Yeah, that was okay. So I studied 4 years in college, the last 2 years in Lakeland University, Wisconsin, and we had a really good football team. That's something that you don't understand the sports and the physicality and the athleticism when it comes to, like a lot of people say, LeBron James is a great athlete, and then American football players, for a reason, they make an argument like, yeah, LeBron is a great athlete until he catches a ball, and like those guys are tough. I had a lot of friends in Lakeland University. I was bench pressing back in the day, like 120 kilos. I could do maybe 10, 12 reps, like I thought, I was something. And then these guys come in and start warming up with 160. I'm like, okay, this is different. And they jump and they run, and I had a lot of good friends. And then we were one time in after the basketball season was done, we were one of those college times, one of those frat parties, it's like hanging out and having fun. And I accidentally, this is one of the dumbest thing I ever said to one of my friends who played linebacker for our team. I said, I always wanted to try football once. My goodness, after a couple of beers, like these guys got excited. They're like, oh, hey, and then he called, yeah, Danny wants to, hey, we gotta do this. Like next Tuesday, they also were in the off season, so they did like 8 versus 8, some scrimmage. But yeah, ended up happening that I put the pads on, and now I'm getting a little bit scared because these guys are big that I play with. And the worst thing is when you put the helmet on, that you don't realize, you don't really see left or right. These big bad people are there to kill you, and then you don't see them. Like, this is when I'm like, I don't know if this is a good idea, but of course, I'm young. I'm like, okay, let's do this. And they made me play fullback. So they're like, yeah, we're gonna fight a gap here in the offensive line, like you just get through, and then running back is fine. First they offered me running back. I'm like, I'm not touching that ball. Like, I don't give me the ball. I can do something else. I can block somebody. So I did 2 snatches as a fullback. First one went good. I saw a guy and I held him down. The second one I did not see somebody coming, and I remember it was my friend Jacob. Big linebacker, big linebacker who caught me. I have never been hit so hard. My goodness. And then my neck snatches back and he slashed me to the ground. I can't breathe for it felt like, sometimes when you get hit and you can't breathe, I felt like I didn't breathe for 2 minutes. I get up, I'm like, okay, I'll play defense. don't like.
You can hit other guys.
Yeah. It's like this is crazy. You gotta be out. Like I very often say, you gotta be an idiot to coach basketball, but I think you gotta be even a bigger idiot playing American football. That's crazy.
But we still want to hear about let's call it a little conflict at Janssons' home.
Yeah. Okay. So now we go into my family matters.
Yes.
Yes.
You said you don't want to talk only about basketball, so here we go.
Yeah. Good. So, yeah, me and Linda being together, I like so long that we're not even counting anymore. I think it's now 20 years or something. We have some differences, like, for example, we have a different view on religion. That's one thing, but that's not really a problem. Like we can work it out, and we somehow always manage to find a way together. But there's one little thing. So going back to that, Helsinki has 2 hockey teams. There's Jokerit, and then there's the other one. It's called HIFK. And like I think times have changed a little bit. Like but back with our generation, like you can't you have to choose. Like you can't be like, well, I don't follow. This is just what happens with rivalries or whatever. So I grew up as a Jokerit fan. I'm big time. It's Helsinki Jokers is the team. So I'm a big time Jokerit fan, and I could talk here for 4 hours why Jokerit is the better club. They moved to Finnish First League 1989. I was there watching the game. I saw the 1992 championship, and ever since, I'm 100% Jokerit. Now, 2005, 6, 7, something like this, we start hang out with Linda. Her whole family is like 3 generations HIFK. Now you can see, like, here's going to be a little bit of a conflict that we try to work out, and we somehow for 20 years we managed to get through this, different view. Now we have a problem. We have a 3-year-old daughter who starts, like, most likely she has to make that choice as well. And I, she was one summer, like I was in Germany, and Linda took Gemma to Finland, and I see her with they send me a, what do you call it, like a WhatsApp group. They send me a picture of Gemma wearing like a HIFK hat. and I was really close to calling child custody services to confiscate my daughter from that, So this is a little bit of a dilemma that we have right now. We're trying to brainwash her to two different. This could be a potential, reason for divorce in the future. But so far, if I manage to get Gemma somehow to Jokerit's side, then we're gonna be fine. But this is something that is really a topic in the family.
Or you take her to the Adler Mannheim, then you have a third team.
Yeah. That's not gonna happen with Helsinki people. You can't.
We talked about Michael Jordan versus Reggie Miller. So which one would be your club?
In the history, always Jokerit, the underdog.
Okay. So I don't know which one is
it used
the bigger
to be
or the
always
more successful club.
I think HFK was 1897. I think Helsinki Jokerit, it's really close to being like a Green Bay Packers story with the cheese factory and the workers putting a football team. This was like a painting company, blah, blah, blah. And then it played something in 1963, a club named Töllevesa, like this local team became Jokerit through a sponsor or whatever. And Jokerit was always the underdog until 90s. Then all of a sudden they got a new owner and it completely flipped upside down. And Jokerit actually builds this brand new arena for 14,000 people. And Jokerit becomes like the bigger one, which was like really interesting. And then they went to this KHL, the Russian Hockey League 2014, and then immediately after 2022, they have to stop there.
And did you ever think of being a hockey player yourself when you were a young man? Or
no, not really. If us three would go and put skates now, I would dominate. But that's like,
probably
yeah. But that's like to Finnish standards, like I was never a hockey player myself.
But tell us, what was your first contact with basketball?
It was actually. I grew up near Kouvola, which is a small town in Finland. That's where I grew up in, and or not really grew up. I'm originally from Helsinki area, but I was in the third grade. We moved to Kouvola, and that was at the time my mom's boyfriend, and his job. And in Kouvola, there's really. There would have been some football or something, but then there was basketball is like relatively big in that town. Even as of today, it's a first league team and very traditional. And that's basically how I ended up because I was doing all kinds of sports, but this was the one that had organized activities and they had a team, and then I become part of the team, and that's when. Fun fact: Kouvola is very near Loviisa, and also it's the same club where two Finnish brothers that are both coaching nowadays grew up in. So I grew up in let's say 25-30 minutes away from where the Isalos grew up.
And you're a good friend of Jonas?
Yes.
But also Thomas?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like Finland is small. This is something that people don't realize. Like, I get hit up a question like, do you know Jonas? Like, yeah, from 30 years, yeah. Tuomas maybe 35 years, I would say, because he's a little bit older, and I knew him a little bit longer. But even after the Poland game, I was in a press conference against Legia, and somebody asked me if I know Mikko Larkas. Yeah. Basketball in Finland is very small. We all know each other. Like, this is just how it works. So yes, I know both brothers, and I probably any basketball person you ask me in Finland, like, I probably know them. Yes.
But is it a big sports topic in Finland that Tuomas now is an NBA head coach? You have Lauri Markkanen as a player.
Yeah.
So because hockey is the main sport in Finland.
Yeah, basketball was always the marginal sport growing up. I would say like the most popular is ice hockey, and also because it's easier access. I think numbers-wise, Finland, believe it or not, probably has even to this day more football players.
Okay.
Even though it doesn't always reflect to the national team success, to be honest. But yeah, then comes volleyball. We also have Finnish baseball, which is a thing. Like, don't ask me, like, go to YouTube and watch the videos, but it's really big outside of Helsinki, the Finnish baseball. A lot of sports. Basketball was never like, it was kind of a marginal sport. And it still, in a way, is, in the sense that if any older person goes and randomly goes to watch the U15 national team of Finland play without knowing anything about the team, I guarantee you he or she would recognize half the last names, because those are kids of players that used to play. Like, somehow it's still like this like, we would really love to have more basketball players in Finland, more mass that you can choose from. But I mean, that being said, Finnish national team and the success they built, like, it's really becoming like big in terms, of course, Lauri brings a lot. And yeah, the news were all over the fact that Tuomas was coaching against Lauri last week, and of course that's a big thing in Finland. I mean, come on now, NBA, Finnish coach, Finnish player. I think, we as German basketball representatives, we feel a little bit the same. Like, the reality always hits when you talk about this infrastructure and everything with football and basketball. Basketball is still not even close, and we are all hoping that the World Cup success and Eurobasket success would somehow bring a little bit more kids and make basketball in Germany a little bit better, because German basketball is doing a really good job. So, and it's getting every year a little bit better, and so in that sense it's a little bit similar with Germany and Finland.
It's also the same with readers' numbers when you write an article about the MLP academics or basketball in general, and then compare it to football. Yeah, we're in the same boat, I guess. Yeah. But we talked about non-basketball stuff. How important is it as a coach to create explicit non-basketball time within the day with your family?
I think it's important, and this is something that we already kind of covered early on in this podcast when we spoke about, like, recognizing the fact that whatever happens in between my ears at 6 o'clock in the evening is not going to change the outcome of the game, but instead what happens on the practice in how we recover. For athletes, it's a huge part in terms of super compensation and getting the proper nutrition and enough sleep, because that job is 24 hours a day. Of course, in a way, like, for me, it's really important to get good night's sleep and being in good physical shape to handle. Also, like, it's not easy for coaches to travel first to München and then directly to Rytas or Vilna, and then to it's especially because I'm not 20 anymore. It's physically demanding, but mostly I think it's important to kind of like have that balance, as you mentioned, to keep my mind clear as well, so that when we do work and we plan and we do whatever it is in-game coaching, that like, you see clearly things and you try to adjust so that you have your mind present in that event, whether it's planning, whether it's practice, whether it's game. Not gonna lie, of course, every basketball coach likes X's and O's and all kinds of little details. Most little tricks that we might run on offense or even defense or some tactical adjustments, they usually all start in the shower or when I'm sitting on a toilet. Like, these two are the places where the brain is really like, I put on a shower, it's warm, and then I'm thinking like, okay, what if we run this play and we flip this screen and we could call this, and that there would be a back door open or something like this. So in that sense, like, the basketball is always present, but you can't get carried away.
I can't get that picture out of my mind because I was thinking about clean plays and shitty plays, and you were talking about showering. Oh, yeah. Anyways, yeah. The thing I asked again about the non-basketball time is that I think you found it. I don't know where you found it, but that you did some voluntary work for 3 years.
For human rights, I think. I'd put it in the Finnish English translator, and they said
Yeah,
it was from 2010 until 2013.
Yeah, I think actually it's I think I know what you mean, and there's this organization in Finland called Walter, which basically does a lot of things, but one of the things they did was organize lectures, and they toured a lot of schools talking about tolerance against racism, but also tolerance. Now I'm thinking of the English word that we use, but you know, not just like human rights, but basically against racism and equality and those things. And it was actually my really good friend who, fun fact, happens to be my basketball agent as well, Jan Wieland. It's his workplace, and he has created this project and done. And what we used to do is we would bring athletes or it could be anything, like somebody who does something, actors, singers, rappers, athletes in Finland that, you know, has some recognition, to talk about, like we from multicultural backgrounds. And I'm one of those, because my grandparents originally come from Lebanon. Don't ask me, I have never been to Lebanon. It's one of my to-dos, maybe one day, but I basically have no connection. But I do not look like your typical Finnish coach with blonde or blue eyes, because my grandparents come from Lebanon. So I would actually be in that roster who goes and to those schools and organize these workshops. And I really enjoyed it. I felt like you could always reach, and you were able to touch lives of young kids growing up.
Is this also a role model thing as for you as a person, as a coach, that you want to show people what's good in life, how you can be successful in different ways, maybe?
Like, role model is, in a way, yes, but ultimately, if you're coaching basketball for right reasons, which is to help players, if you're coaching basketball to get a bigger contract or more fame or win, you know, something against somebody and then status, like then I feel you're doing it for wrong reasons. And I in a way, my background as a basketball coach, when, you know, I started off as a youth coach in Ulm, I was youth coach developing players in Tübingen. It was a Pro A team that tries to win, but I made it my own, which means I brought 19, 20-year-old kids, and I made it the same. In Heidelberg, also with last year team, a little bit the same in terms of, like, you know, we get players who are not their best versions yet, because we are not on top of that food chain. We bring them in, we let them develop, we work them, and then ultimately that basically performs the budget that we have. And in a way, I've always been so far relatively lucky, in the sense that when I come to practice, I come in and I feel like I am here because I'm here to help the players. And I'm not going to lie, now that you're in BBL and BCL, this is a huge conflict. It's a huge dilemma, because then, you know, some journalist from RNC says this was all bullshit and they need to do better, and then the next thing is, you know, the question of, now we're losing this much, does Danny have time anymore, or blah blah blah, or should we change play? Like, with all this cluster, you know, it makes it really difficult, and it creates this conflict of me doing what I have always done and what is my strength as a coach. I go in and I try to help so that the players can improve, they can learn to learn, and then we can again outperform the budget in a sense. And now that you ask me this question, like, why I really enjoyed doing that Walter project was because, you know, like, you can't save everyone, but I think the concept we had was really genius, because it had something that, you know, made everybody think. And when you go and in a workshop and there's, you know, 50 kids, like, you can clearly see that some of them really started, like, thinking. And earlier we spoke a little bit about Formula One, and And, like one of the questions we would ask on those workshops, like, what makes a person a Finnish person? And then you would hear all kinds of arguments, and we would always counter those. Well, he has to live in Finland. Okay, do you think, Lauri Markkanen is not Finnish because he lives in, and we would always counter that. One great example we used, like, what do you think, what is Niko Roosberg's nationality? And for Germans, just so you understand, it's pronounced Roosberg, not
Rosberg.
Yeah, no, Roosberg, because father is Finnish. He grew up with a Finnish passport, but then he can't speak Finnish because I think he grew up in Monaco or something. But now all of a sudden, like, the argument is, well, of course he's Finnish because he's a famous Formula One driver, and it was a really good concept that we had, and just because you could feel every single time that you can maybe change a little bit something. That's why I enjoyed doing it.
You just mentioned that it's obvious that you can't save everybody.
Yeah.
But one thing I learned during preparation, I haven't heard about it before, that one time you had to save yourself because you suffered from depression in the beginning of your career. Is that right?
Actually, it's it was, and like, in a way, I always been really open about it, but at the same time, haven't really gone into too much details. And this happened, and there's a very clear reason. Like, I was doing that sports club thing in Finland for 6 years, and I was coaching 2-3 teams, so you can imagine what life is like when you do all this. And I didn't realize it, but I burned out, but I didn't realize it myself at that moment, that I was already, like, reflecting back. I think I was doing autopilot for year and a half at least, and then I signed to Ratio Farm Ulm, and then I'm supposed to show everybody, that I can be a full-time coach and stuff. So that combination, when I moved to Ulm and everything hits at once, that was tough. And I did realize then in Ulm there was, like, really some physiological effects. I realized, like, okay, now everything is not good. And I did, I did talk to people, and I did really make, like, and again, I think in a way it was like that competitive stride that led me, like, I'm gonna fix this now, and I'm gonna focus. And it started mainly with mindfulness to control your mind, and also, like, well, a bunch of other things with your own health that you do. And slowly and surely, it got better. I don't think I had to sacrifice anybody else's, like, we came to Ulm my first year with the MBBL and Pro B. We all of a sudden we win every single game. Like, we're killing in Pro B, we're killing in Regio, we're killing in MBB. I think I have to be grateful for those kids that they just bought in, and they loved it, and they showed great commitment and energy, and, like, to lift the program completely on its own. I mean, yes, it was, my sister, like, I come in, this is what we do, but then all of a sudden it starts, like, rolling. I can't imagine how that year would have been if we lost all the games, but somehow that enabled me to fix the issues that I had that year, and I still think the kids got most out of it.
So you've never come to a point where you thought if it's all worth it and you maybe need to stop being a coach, being far away from home. I read that you were in Ulm by yourself and Linda wasn't there.
Yeah, that was the first year that Linda stayed in school to graduate. And also, like, coaching is a profession where, it's better to maybe look for 1 year before two people make plans, like, how is this going? And Linda visited me quite a few times, but then it was the second year that we make a decision that she actually moves to Germany as well.
And then everything turned out to be good.
Yeah,
and
better slowly and surely, except for the 2 hockey teams.
And then a couple of years later, you were in the middle of a competitive playoff series against Bayern Munich. Was this, like, the biggest success so far in your career?
Well, I would maybe counter your question with another question. What is success?
I'm the one asking questions. You're the one.
In a way, yes, big success. I mean, one thing is that we made it to the semifinals, but at the same time, you know, there was a lot of coincidences that we beat Chemnitz in the first round, and then you start looking at it, and if we had, or if we didn't win Würzburg in that one game and we didn't make the playoffs, would it then be success or not? So, you know, like you have to try to think, you know, in a big picture beyond these. Like in the end, it was a very slim margin between, you know, not being in the playoffs and being in top 4. You know, you can't base everything that something is success just because we shot the ball really well in Würzburg. But, you know, I think overall last year was success because I saw a lot of growth with the players. I think most players and then the side product is that the market value for like almost every player that we had last year, like doubled or tripled or whatever. So in those terms, like to me, last year was really successful in that sense. But on the flip side, the way I see success, it's almost every year. I mean, I was 6 years in Ulm. I think from that program there was over 30 players that played professionally. And if you think about normal program, youth club program, I mean, who can say the same? Yeah, there was 30 professional players that played BBL or David Kramer is in Real Madrid. I mean, Kylian Hayes played NBA, you know, but then not just that. Lukas Rosenbaum came to Heidelberg to play Pro A. You know, a lot of Pro B, Pro A players, BBL players. So in that sense, you know, I thought the years in Ulm almost every year were successful. And if you look at Tübingen teams that we had, almost every year the players that we have, like, they move on. And the only thing that was a little bit exceptional because I've been always sending players out when I moved from Tübingen to Heidelberg for the first time in my life, I would send players out, but I would also receive them because I moved to Heidelberg. And we all remember how that was viewed in the beginning.
Yeah, but it's understandable, isn't it? I mean, it was a unique situation.
Yeah.
Fighting against relegation, against Tübingen and head coach Danny Jansson, and then signing Danny Jansson for the next year and taking a lot of those players that were relegated. I mean,
yeah, that was my first question to Matthias. You know, I think he mentioned it maybe. I'm like, okay, how the hell are you going to market this if you're going to sign me? How are you going to explain that to people in Heidelberg? He said, let me worry about that.
I call Niko, he said. I'm going to explain him. Yeah. Anyways, it's interesting because it's always about the bigger picture. And while you were answering, I was just wondering about the fact that maybe you can judge it as an even bigger success when one of those kids back in the days in Finland, you help continue playing basketball, which you could easily judge as a bigger success than just teaching those guys in the BBL how to advance to the playoffs.
And one interesting fact from Finland, I was coaching the U19, which is like MBBL. I was coaching, you know, U19 in that club, Puhu, for 6 years, and we had a 100% graduation rate. So, and it was something that I really wanted to take pride in, and I did really care that everybody became Abitur or completed Abitur, and it was sometimes we had a couple of teachers in the club, and I would have to contact these, like, hey, could you help, you know, here because this kid's something, but these are basically the values that I started as a coach, and you know, once you have those values, it's still like, you know, sometimes I might be asking completely different wrong type of questions when you try to win BCL games or something, but this is some. I think it might be a limiting factor, but at the same time, I always see this as a strength.
Yeah, it is.
So you're helping young players a lot.
Yeah.
What's about yourself? How important are individual honors for you? You were second place at the Coach of the Year voting last year.
Yeah.
Is this important for you, or?
Not, like, to be honest, not really. And I know it's a thing that you're supposed to say, but to me, really, not. And I already have those awards. They give that golden ball. I already have 3 or 4 of them at home, from Pro A and Pro B and MBBL, whatnot. So I don't need another one. But individual awards, in terms of, are you talking about the Coach of the Year, or are you talking about Osun and Mike being runner-ups for Defensive Player of the Year?
No, Coach of the Year.
Coach of the Year.
Oh, Coach of the Year. Yeah, not really important at all.
So I guess I'm not that wrong when I say that when we ask you about maybe one dream you want to fulfill for yourself, then your answer is probably not going to be about basketball. Or is it? We can talk about dreams on and off the court.
Yeah. I grew up always, having dreams and everything, like, it's, and also I think this is a generational thing. Like, I'm one concern that I have is younger people nowadays, they don't know how to dream, because everything is given and everything is right there, and the whole world is open with all the technology and everything. Like, this is a big concern for me. On a side note, now I'm seeing Gemma being a Jokerit fan one day. That's
the most important.
That's definitely one. In a way, this sounds so cheesy when it comes, but am I not living a dream right now? And one of the dreams is to make this dream last as long as I possibly can. And the dream is always, to help people, because then you have that feeling like I've actually done something, in this world.
Heavy stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We can do one more with a little bit lighter stuff if you have some klugscheisse. That's a word that it's smartass, but I just use automatically, like, some klugscheisse questions. If you have, we can do one more.
And you would describe yourself as a klugscheisser?
Yeah, remotely I have sometimes tendencies of being maybe a little bit sarcastic.
No. Because we talked about Bob Knight and the quote, everybody just Googled or went to YouTube and knows what we're talking about. Is there anything you don't understand, or you want to know, or you are really pissed off about the work with media and journalists?
Not really, because it's in a way like, sometimes something that annoys me a little bit is
Jürgen.
Jürgen, like, Jürgen.
That's the same with you. That's the same with you and me.
Jürgen, don't be so Schwäbisch, like.
Schwäbisch. I'm a Kurpfälzer.
Yeah, but
I'm a real Kurpfälzer.
You really write like Schwäbisch, like everything is bad.
Oh.
And glass is always half empty.
This comparison is tough for a real guy who's born in Heidelberg.
Yeah.
But I can live with it. I can deal with it.
So
problem.
A little bit more, like, try to be a little bit more Finnish and a little bit more relaxed and happy. That gives.
What was the? I have to write the articles on my underwear. So
drunk in your underwear.
And drunk, yeah.
Try doing that. Sometimes the only thing that sometimes annoys me a little bit is, it annoys me when you try to flip everything into negative, and especially like, now you open a Pandora's box, because there's some, because everything is turning now, clicks, that's the value of everything. And then you come in, like, I read the Finnish newspaper, and there's like, everything was shocking, click here to see, and like, they just like to get those clicks. And that's like really takes away from anybody who tries to be, neutral, hardworking, investigative journalist. Like, it ruins everything for them. I'm not gonna mention any particular news outlets or something, but obviously recently there was drama between me and Chris Smith. The Dine commentator, is like, come on, man, like, I'm good with Chris, and now you turn this into a headline where there's something that really isn't there.
Which everybody who saw the interview knows that there was drama, no drama at all.
Yeah, but this is so annoying when you're just trying to make those clickbaits and that. And then when it comes to you media people, like sometimes what annoys me is if you're not fully prepared. Like if you, obviously you guys came up with this, and I really appreciate the fact that you go to LinkedIn or whatever, but then sometimes I receive phone calls like, hey, could you give me this, and like pretty much like have no knowledge who I am or where, like, or like asking about a player who doesn't even play for my team anymore or something, like, like, at least take 5 minutes to prepare a little bit better before you you do this interview.
So you are obviously happy that you're in Heidelberg now, because with the RNZ guys, things like that never ever happen.
Yeah, except for that Jürgen München article, that was still.
I'm not getting out of this.
Yeah, no, we might be here in 10 years, and I will bring this up.
No problem.
But we can put the link to the article in the description of the podcast, and maybe raise our clicking numbers.
Yeah,
or we can discuss why I wrote this article the way I did it. Yeah. But stop it.
Yeah, not interested in that. I think we took enough of your time.
Yeah.
Danny.
So episode 200 then next, or?
Yeah.
It's up to you.
Yeah.
How long did it take us? 2 years?
I don't know.
To me, it took about 8 losses. That's when I got invited. with the 2 Swedish journalists.
Yes. So Danny, thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you for being here.
Good luck for the Hamburg game, obviously, which everybody who hears the podcast knows about the outcome.
Yeah.
We don't. And of course, for the upcoming games. And yeah, for me, it was a pleasure. It was fun. And I think we can do it again. Yeah, when we're relaxed enough after this episode 100 tonight.
Yes. And now we have to start eating the cookies.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Das war's mit Akademisches Viertel, der Academics-Podcast der RNZ. Academics-Podcast der RNZ.